Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a fantastic little day.
These traders were talking trash about you, saying you're clumsy and that you knocked over your camera and that you're basically incompetent, and Allah was cursing you.
That's pretty messed up. Not sure why anyone would say
Extremely messed
something.
up, but don't worry, I had your back, man.
Nice. Thank you, man. I can always trust David to
It's
defend.
how I roll.
So, I just got a new camera because my camera was being problematic for years now, but for some reason I never think of replacing it. And in the end, I thought, you know what? I think it's time.
And me, I buy one like 5 months ago and just never set it up.
So eventually I got one, but then I forgot that I got a new camera until it was time to go live. So I had to set that up.
And what'd you do?
Well,
Did you knock the entire thing over and then it was pointing at the ceiling like really stupidly?
yes, it was. But
It would
anyway,
have been pretty funny if you just got that and you like broke it to pieces, but it's still working.
that would be hilarious.
So it's not as funny, but it's still pretty funny.
That would be hilarious. That would be very, very hilarious. I like the brighter room, maybe. That's the funny thing. The room isn't brighter, but the camera is just doing a fantastic job with the lighting. So, in fact, I wonder how it acts if I just turn my lights here off, because it seems to be doing great under any circumstances.
Turn them on. See what happens.
No, I don't want to try that out now, man. I'm going to try it out some other time.
It's best to try new things live.
Right. If I want to turn it on, I have to get up and walk around and do that now. So it is called this OBS Bot Tiny. That's what it's called for those curious. OBS Bot Tiny. I was under the impression for years that webcams just generally categorically suck. But apparently over the years, webcams have gotten better, and there are some new webcams that do some really, really good stuff. So instead of spending tons of money on some digital camera, which is what I used before all the time during live streams, I thought I should just get this. And I think I'm much happier with that. Anyway, enough about the technicalities. David, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up?
Hey, you know what's funny? I'm checking the live stream feed right now, and it doesn't even look remotely as good on the live stream as it does here in the studio. So that's
probably looks good to me, man.
That's probably the fault of stupid StreamYard, which always makes the quality worse. Not sure why I'm still using it.
Let me see if it's what I see. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? A Turk. Hey.
Yeah. At this point, I should just.
Hey, no, it tells us you're in 4K, but it only gives the option for 1K. So you're broadcasting in 1K, which, by the way, is what you should be doing.
I know it's lying to me. Local recordings will be in 4K. Cloud recording at the live stream resolution will still be. Oh, okay. Now I see. I should just change the topic of this live stream and make it all about the new setup instead of the topic of rape gangs. Anyway, David, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up?
Not much. Have you heard about these rape gangs?
Yeah, I've heard of such things.
The rape gang report, the report about the rape gangs, about the overwhelmingly Muslim Pakistani rape gangs. Have you heard of that?
I've heard about them. I've heard of them for a little while.
The very, very stunning and surprising thing to me is, I mean, it's actually not that surprising, honestly, but the very interesting part of it is that the report actually goes into how Islam has a big influence in the making of these grooming gangs or rape gangs. And I thought that would be a very, very interesting topic to have a look at. And that topic also seems to, let's see, how many pages is that? When I just go into the topic of influence of Islam, the influence of Islam in the report goes from page 116 to 134. Nearly 20 pages. about Islam's influence in the making and prevalence of rape gangs or grooming gangs in the United Kingdom. This is very, very bold. And I'm not surprised. I'm very, very interested and very happy to see that this is included. I'm not surprised because the report is led by Rupert Lowe, who is unapologetic and who is, because of that, becoming more and more popular in the United Kingdom as a contender and possible future leader. So we shall have a look at that, and we shall look at everything that this Islamophobic report says, and we shall correct it wherever the Islamophobic report here says things that are incorrect and that malign Islam and Muslims in a very, very unfair way, because we are here to defend Islam. That's what we do. We are the greatest defenders of Islam, David Wynn and I. That's what we are famous for, and that's what we want to do today. What do you say, David?
That's what we always do, man.
I know.
Diversity is our strength, man.
It's the biggest strength. There's a different topic here, which is which I just saw earlier. Gavin Ortland and Father Stephen DeYoung having a conversation about the true church. And from the reactions that I'm seeing, people love this conversation on both sides. So
and we shall watch it and humiliate whoever's wrong and is not from the true church.
I kind of want to have a look at this as well, but right now I think the topic that is important is the rape gang stuff.
We should just go ahead and watch that whole thing tomorrow.
We should. Let's do it. Let's do it. Now it's time for the rape gangs. It's time for the rape gangs. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Sounds good. It does sound good. They're all sick in the head. They are. Islamophobes unite. You don't say. Indeed. Evil, wimpy bastards. Indeed. Yoshi's Island is better than rape gangs. This is very, very true. Gives grooming a bad reputation. It does. Because this report came out, I'm no longer grooming my hair and my beard. Tati, his girl, says, I told my Muslim friend about the rape gangs. He said it has nothing to do with Islam. That is a very, very surprising and shocking response. I'm very, very shocked. I don't know why anyone would say something that I've never heard that before.
You should sit down with your Muslim friend and read through this section.
Indeed. I watched a Gavin video. I don't think it will change anyone's mind, Apostate Prophet. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that opinion. Opinion dismissed. Just kidding. Well, thank you for your insight. I haven't watched it yet. I need to check it out. Oh, I think I saw your comment there. You were actually talking about how they're both charitable, and it's a nice discussion or something like that.
That's not good.
So I know being charitable is kind of a stupid thing. People should be fighting all the time. Cult of death equals Islam. This is true. It is disgusting that they gaslighted a nation. This is very, very true. I was a barber at a barbershop for 16 years. Then before that, I worked at a small hair places, and I've never groomed anyone, not even once. That's good. Don't groom people. So, David, are you ready for this?
Yep.
All right, so before we start, let's just give some context. So for a year now or so, Rupert Lowe with certain other people were encouraged by thousands of people to go out and to conduct research into, that looks nice, conduct research into the grooming gangs and rape gangs to see what's up, to see what what has been happening, and to see what the authorities have been doing. And this has been crowdfunded as well. Lots of people have put tons of money into funding this research. Eventually, the research has been published. The report has been published. It's titled the Rape Gang Inquiry Report. It has just been published the other day. 2 days ago on Tuesday, we already went through the beginning of it on David's channel, in which we reviewed the introduction to it and reviewed certain stories of victims that were subjected to grooming gangs, and it was absolutely terrible. I would go into looking at all the other accounts and all the other instances of victims in this report, but it is very, very heavy, at this point, I can't really find myself doing that. We have victim testimonies from page 18 to page 101. We have whistleblower testimony. We have the demographics and culture, and eventually we have the influence of Islam. So when it comes to this section, the influence of Islam is discussed, and I'm really, really, really curious as to what exactly has been found when it comes to the influence of Islam in these rape gangs and grooming gangs. So let's check it out. Let's go into it immediately. I do expect that the live stream might be a little bit throttled and trickled because I put rape gang directly on the thumbnail and grooming gang directly into the title of the live stream. So I was kind of conflicted about that. On the one hand, I don't want to censor anything. I want to put it all out there. I also don't care about the demonetizing or advertisement on this live stream. However, I was a little bit in a little bit of a difficult spot because I thought I want to expose people to this, and if I put this stuff in the description and in the title and in the thumbnail, it will reduce the exposure of this important topic. So should I be doing it? But I couldn't really think of what else to do with this. So maybe we can republish this or go through it again, or make a summarized version of it once we have gone through it with a different title. And address it without being brutally censored by YouTube. It is rape gangs, it is grooming gangs. That's just what it is. Aussie Ape says Australia beat Turkey in soccer. I beat AP in time. It's nice that you celebrate your victory over Turkey, but I'm not sure what that has to do with me, Aussie Ape. Joe Levers, good night, y'all. I'll be watching it at work tomorrow. You guys make this topic more bearable to hear about. Apostate Prophet and David Hood. Thank you. Grapes to Jenna says, AP, who are you cheering for when US faces Turkey in the World Cup? USA, of course. Not cheering for Turkey. Who cheers for Turkey? If you're cheering for the USA, will you wear an USMNT jersey? US might win World Cup. They beat Paraguay. I do not think that America can actually win the World Cup, to be very, very honest. They have played the best game that I have. They have put the best performance on that I've ever seen from the United States team. Everybody's saying that this was the best performance ever that the American football team has demonstrated. It was a beautiful thing to watch, and I support the United States, of course, all the way through. That said, I doubt that America can actually go for the World Cup.
Yeah,
if they did, I would, of course, completely cheer it on, but it's very highly unlikely at this point. So
I have to say, you normally want to cheer for Team USA and stuff like this, but imagine the repercussions if USA did win. Then, like, soccer might become more of a thing in the US, which no one wants. No one wants except extreme leftists and jihadis. So anyway, the U.S. Fortunately, the USA is always at a disadvantage in these things because you go around the world. There's basically one sport in the entire rest of the world, whereas in the U.S. we have like 200 sports. So what happens is anyone who's athletically inclined in the U.S. goes into some other sport. It's only the people who couldn't compete in any other of 200 sports who go into soccer because they'll take anyone over there. And so it's basically people from the USA, like the absolute bottom of the barrel worst athletes. They can't even be called athletes, going up against every other country's best athletes, because they only have one sport. So all their best athletes go into this useless game of estrogen ball. Estrogen ball. That's what we should call it.
Dude, this is beautiful. Canada 6, Qatar 0. Very, very nice to see. Qatar got zooted.
What's that mean? They're first and fourth?
First of their group at the moment, and Qatar is fourth.
Of their group. So let me guess, there's like 50 groups.
There are 8 groups, and 4 in each group. Canada is first in their group now, and Qatar is fourth in their group. So it's very, very nice.
And then they get down to the number one of every group, and then they make each of those 8 groups play against each other?
A little bit more complex than that, but yes, basically something like that. So the groups qualify from the groups, the teams qualify, and then from the different groups, the teams play against each other, and so on and so forth.
Wait, they scored 6 goals?
Yeah, 6 goals against Qatar, which is
every time I've ever looked at a soccer score, it was like 1-0. 1-0 final. It was so exciting. 1-0.
No, you're correct. There are actually 12 groups. For some reason, I couldn't think that there are that many groups at the moment. But yeah, there are 12 groups, 48 teams. That makes sense. No, that's an extraordinary amount of goals in a football game. But Qatar is also a very weak team, to be honest. So, anyway, I agree with this here. Patriotic Z says technically Muslims should be on form of visual media because video and pictures are digital art with light. So light art of people, and that is idolatry of people in Islam. So they should stay offline. This is true. D.D. Anderson made a super sticker. Thank you very, very much. I shall have a look at it in a little bit. The patriotic Muslims shouldn't be on any form. Okay, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. All right, ready? Let's go. I have just been told that I should also read briefly the beginning of the previous chapter here, which is about demographics. So because that comes from a very trusted source, I will do that. Demographics and culture. Perpetrators from Pakistani Muslim and other Muslim backgrounds formed the core of the rape gangs nationwide.
You don't say.
Now let that sink in.
The core nationwide.
Perpetrators from Pakistani Muslim and other Muslim backgrounds formed the core of the rape gangs nationwide.
I'm not sure you'll recall this, AP, but we're reading through this, and one of the other Muslim backgrounds happens to be Turkish. Imagine that.
That's true. Turks suck, to be honest. So they operated under an honor and shame clan code that treated non-Muslim girls, especially white working-class girls, as property available for sexual use because these girls had no male protectors who could retaliate. The men began by showering the girls with attention, gifts, alcohol, and drugs. This then escalated to coercion, gang rape, and trafficking. They transported victims across towns, shared them with friends and family, and sometimes forced conversions to Islam, followed by religious marriages. The Muslim men justified the abuse by describing white British girls as easy, trash, or morally inferior.
By the way, isn't this interesting? It's an entire culture of grooming, plying with alcohol, drugging, raping, gang raping, and pimping 11 and 12-year-old girls, and the men viewed themselves as morally superior to the girls that they're grooming and raping.
Yep. The same network targeted Sikh girls until Sikh communities mobilized collective male protection and forced the gangs to withdraw. You see here.
By the way, do you remember that? That seemed like, I think that was about 10 years ago. It was a big thing with the Sikh community. What they would do is they would seduce a Sikh girl, but they would then get pictures. And the Sikh community is also like an honor shame culture. So they would say they would do anything they could to seduce a girl, then get pictures of her naked, and then say, now you're going to do whatever we say, or we're going to show these pictures to the family and post them all over the internet. So they would after that, that's how they got control of the Sikh girls. And then basically the girls had to do whatever these guys want. And so these guys are then raping them, gang raping them, pimping them, and so on. And it became such an issue that the Sikh community had to get together. The leaders had to get together and say, we basically need to change so that girls can come forward. If a girl ever messes up and goes and does something and a guy's blackmailing her, she needs to be able to come to her family and the Sikh community and say, this is what happened, because that's the only way that's going to stop that's the only way to stop these guys from turning the girls into prostitutes. And so he said, we need to change it so that girls feel safer to come forward with this stuff.
That is correct.
Hold up. I still got sawdust in my eye, man.
Nobody cares about your sawdust.
It's been there since yesterday, man. Me and Luke were cutting board, and I've had sawdust, and it just will not come out at all.
Why are you bragging about it?
I should probably use eye drops or something. I don't know.
You should.
It won't come out though.
The thing about so this is actually a good example of what Christians should be doing, and it's also the context here is very important. Now, Sikh knives have recently become very, very controversial because of an incident of a Sikh guy killing a British young man with a knife, which was not the main reason why it caused a huge outcry. The main reason was that the perpetrator called the police and falsely reported that the British white guy was being racist, and the police then completely mistreated the situation and allowed the man to die. Who is Henry Nowak, which happened a while ago, and the reports came out about it. So, however, going back to the historical context of Sikhs, this is actually very, very, very much in line with the Sikh tradition, and for the reason why Sikhs have traditionally carried knives. The Sikh religion started out in an environment where they were basically blending together Islamic and Hindu beliefs, and the Sikhs started the whole tradition of carrying knives for their own protection and for the protection of other oppressed people. And they started that out in reaction to Muslims, to the Muslim empire, to the Mughal empire, and their oppression and forced conversion of minorities, including Sikhs and Hindus. So a core practice, the Sikh carrying of knives, started out in order to protect themselves in India from Muslims, from Muslim oppressors. And here, once again, you can see the Sikhs at least defending themselves against Muslim rape gangs, or defending their girls against Muslim rape gangs. British girls were not permitted such a defense. This religiously framed exploitation was repeated in every major town and city and beyond. All right, I will continue now to the section about Islam specifically. Let's get there. The influence of Islam, Muslim treatment of non-Muslims worldwide. Britain is not a unique case. This sort of thing goes on anywhere that either welcomes mass migration from Muslim countries or contains long-established Muslim populations. There is a consistent pattern of sexual violence directed against non-Muslim minorities in settings where Muslims form the majority. Across Britain, as we have noted, girls from Sikh and Hindu backgrounds have also been targeted by Muslim gangs. Unlike the white British majority, these non-Muslim immigrant populations were never prevented from organizing as a collective to protect their own. In doing so, as was their duty, the network of Sikh organizations drew attention to the appalling treatment of non-Muslims in Pakistan. Quote, we need only look at the appalling treatment of girls from minority faiths in Pakistan, where Christian, Hindu, and Sikh girls are kidnapped, forced to convert to Islam, and married to get an understanding of the underlying motivations. In 2018, around 1,000 girls in Pakistan's Sindh province alone suffered this fate. In many cases, perpetrators are granted impunity due to corruption and connivance with local officials.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, even if you were a good cop for once, you can't do anything, because if you side with the Christians or the Hindus or the Sikhs, the community, the Muslim community targets you as well. They'll burn your house to the ground too. So these guys just have to, the police just have to go along with these things.
In April 2024, UN human rights experts expressed serious alarm regarding the vulnerability of minority girls in Pakistan to forced religious conversions and forced marriages. Their press release highlighted that Christian and Hindu girls in particular face heightened risks of abduction, trafficking, child forced marriage, domestic servitude, and sexual violence. Human rights groups and media reports, including a 2021 BBC investigation, have estimated that thousands of non-Muslim girls, primarily Christians, Hindus, and Sikhs, are abducted annually in Pakistan, compelled to convert to Islam.
Notice that's not thousands, period. That's thousands annually.
Yeah. Compelled to convert to Islam and forced into marriage with their abductors. So in Pakistan, Christian, Hindu, and Sikh girls are, thousands of them are annually, every year, abducted, compelled to convert to Islam, and then forced into marriage with their abductors.
Yeah, so what that means is they get the girls and then they beat and torture them until they sign a thing saying, yep, I'm a Muslim now. And then when their family comes for them, they say, nope, here's a piece of paper that the girl signs saying she's a Muslim now, and therefore you're no longer part of her life. She's with us now. And then they show that to the police, and the police aren't going to do anything about it.
One documented case involved Farah, a 12-year-old Christian girl abducted from her home in June 2020 by 3 Muslim men, raped and forced to perform household labor as a slave. A common sequence in these cases sees a girl abducted, coerced into signing a conversion certificate.
I was right.
And swiftly married to a Muslim man. Police in Pakistan frequently side with the abductors over the girl's family.
Imagine that.
When parents pursue legal action, courts tend to uphold the legitimacy of the conversion. Birth certificates may be falsified to indicate that the girl is not a minor. Contact with her family is typically blocked. Following conversion to Islam, non-Muslim parents lose all authority over their child, as Islamic law prohibits non-Muslims from exercising guardianship over Muslims, including their own offspring.
By the way, that's not a uniquely Pakistani thing. That's been going on wherever Islam goes, and you have sizable populations of Christians, and that's why Copts in Egypt, so completely different part of the world, but that's why Copts in Egypt had to start tattooing their kids when they're young to identify their kids, because they would just take, a Muslim could just walk up to you, take your daughter, and then you call the police, and the Muslim says, nope, this always been my girl. And who are you going to listen to, the Muslim or the Christian? So they started putting the tattoos on for identification purposes.
This is also a thing, by the way, with leaving Islam in Pakistan and in many other Muslim countries. If those Muslim countries do not have an outright law where somebody who leaves Islam is put to death or imprisoned, they at least have a law where if you leave Islam and you have children, you will lose custody over your children. Because a non-Muslim shouldn't be having guardianship over Muslims. And you can't make your children leave Islam. That would be illegal. So if you leave Islam, you lose guardianship or custody over your kids. This is true in many, many dozens of Muslim countries. It's a really messed up thing. This evidence from grooming gang convictions across Britain repeatedly shows a Muslim background among many of the perpetrators. When this is viewed alongside similar patterns of sex crimes observed both in countries of origin for immigrants and in Muslim-majority societies, it offers compelling grounds to consider that elements of Islam are contributing to the grooming gang scourge in our country. My biggest criticism with this document is that the text is thin on white background. It is very difficult to read. I wish they took this into consideration and for online did a black on or white on black thing. But anyway, while it is unsurprising that a religion can shape and regulate sexual behavior, the suggestion that Islam might play a role in driving sex crimes remains deeply uncomfortable for some in the liberal West. Even so, the possibility of an Islamic influence on these crimes cannot be dismissed. The available data strongly points toward it as a hypothesis that merits serious examination.
By the way, I mean, shouldn't that last sentence there be like common sense? I mean, not just after this, after years of Islamic terrorist attacks and people shouting Allahu Akbar, slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah, sometimes leaving manifestos, leaving videos, sometimes stopping for interviews with the camera as they're waiting for police after they killed somebody. And they're quoting the Quran, they're quoting the Hadith, they're justifying all this. Wouldn't it be like, shouldn't it be obvious to say, hey, maybe we need to look into the texts, the sources of Islam, to see if there is, in fact, a connection? That's the one thing you are never allowed to do. And if you did do it, you were just a racist, Islamophobic, hate-mongering bigot. But it was the same with the grooming gangs. It was just off limits. No, whatever else happens, you're not going to look into Islam's sources to see if there's any connection. That's the one thing you're not allowed to do. And here they just say, hey, we see this recurring pattern here. Maybe we should look into the connection between this and Islam. Maybe we should just look into it.
That's true. Oh, man, wait a minute.
What?
I think I figured out how they changed the appearance of the document. Hang on.
The document's fine.
Document text. All right. Done.
Done and done.
Done.
James
Inverted the colors.
DG done.
Inverted the colors. All right. Where were we? You
were right where they said, hey, right there. Merits serious examination. And I said that should be common sense, but it never is.
The impact of any religion on individual behavior is rarely direct and unmediated. It is heavily filtered through culture, which a religion can gradually reshape over generations. Not all Muslim communities or societies are influenced by Islam to the same degree or in the same manner. Minority Muslim populations may behave differently from majority ones. For instance, convictions of Indian origin Muslim men in grooming gang cases across Britain are notably rare compared with those of Pakistani heritage. This disparity may relate to a demographic context. Muslims form only about 14% of India's population, with Hindus comprising around 80%, placing them in a minority position where social and legal constraints differ markedly from Pakistan, where Muslims dominate overwhelmingly and non-Muslims constitute a small, often marginalized minority. In such a setting, exploiting non-Muslim neighbors becomes far easier. At least 8 theological aspects of Islam, this is very important, at least 8 theological aspects of Islam may contribute to cultural patterns that enable or normalize the sexual abuse of non-Muslim girls. These include 1. The doctrine of Muslim superiority. Are you listening, David? Are you paying attention?
Muslim doctrine of superiority.
2. The principle of loyalty and disavowal, al-wala wal-bara. 3. Male dominance over women. 4. Enforced seclusion and veiling of women. 5. Forced marriage combined with the absence of a fixed minimum age of consent. 6. The perception of female sexuality as inherently dangerous or fitna, corruption. The historical 7. The historical Sharia institution of slavery. And 8. The system of dhimmitude. David, what do you know about dhimmitude? Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yep.
What do you know about dhimmitude? Never heard of that before. Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? Terrible, terrible, terrible. Continue. These are all rooted in classical Islamic theology, up to and including Islamic jurisprudence. But even in Sharia-governed nations, adaptations are common, such as setting a minimum marriage age or restricting unilateral divorce by men in order to lessen the harsher effects on women. Does this now go through each of them by one? Yes, it does.
Yep. You need to check all those passages, man.
Beautiful.
Look, Surah 3, verse 110. Muslims are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind. Where have we heard that before? Over and over and over again.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Muslim supremacism. Islam holds that those who are righteous and truly fear God, meaning Muslims, are inherently superior to those who reject Allah's commands, namely non-Muslims. This idea is captured in Quran 3, verse 110. You, Muslims, are the best nation raised up for humankind, commanding what is good and forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah. If only the people of the book, the Christians and Jews, believed, it would be better for them. Some among them are believers, but most are perverted. Chapter 3, verse 110. So according to the Quran verse here, which they accurately cited, the majority of Christians and Jews are perverted people and are not good and are not righteous. That's it. And you know what you do with perverted people. The verse positions Muslims as the finest community entrusted by God with the duty to enjoin good and prohibit evil. This responsibility can be understood as authorizing Muslims to correct, compel, or if needed, punish non-Muslims, potentially through coercion or force. Other Quranic passages affirm Islam's ultimate supremacy over all religions, as in Surah 48, verse 28. It is He, Allah, who has sent His messenger with the guidance and the religion of truth to make it triumph over every religion. Non-Muslims who refuse Islam are described in harsh terms, such as in Surah 8, verse 55. Surely the worst of animals in Allah's sight are the rejectors of Islam. They do not believe. Dude, they didn't include the best example here. Do they include it later on? Surah 98, verse 6.
Should have had 98.6 in there.
It should have been in here. Let's have a look at it. Quran 98, verse 6. What does this beautiful verse say?
Jews and Christians and al-mushrikun are the worst of creatures.
Quran chapter 98, verse 6 says the following. Indeed, they who disbelieve among the people of the scripture, meaning Christians and Jews, and the polytheists will be in the fire of hell, abiding eternally therein. Those are the worst of creatures.
You got the Hillel Khan there?
Yes. No.
Then it's pretty useless.
Hilali Khan.
It might be under Muhammad Musin Khan.
Muhammad.
How would there not be Hillel Khan on there, man?
Muhammad. Ya Muhammad. Quran 98, verse 6. Let's go to Quran Corpus. Here. You mean this here? Oops. Verily, those who disbelieve in the religion of Islam, the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, from among the people of the scripture, Jews and Christians and al-mushrikun will abide in the fire of hell. They are the worst of creatures. Is that what you wanted, David?
Mainly because they add a little, that commentary, right? That little bit of commentary in the disbelieve in what? The religion of Islam, the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad. That comes from Ibn Abbas. They included it in there just to clarify what you're disbelieving in.
Ibn Abbas. All right. So this is what the Quran says. However, this is probably some Islamophobic propaganda. Don't believe it. Anyway, yes. Where was I? The concept of Muslim superiority is closely linked to derogatory views of non-Muslims. For instance, Surah 9, verse 28 labels associators, a pejorative term encompassing Christians, Jews, and other non-Muslims, as unclean, najis.
Yep, it's like filthy.
Yeah. These teachings can provide a religious justification that bolsters an abuser's conviction of their own superiority and facilitates the dehumanization of non-Muslim victims. In her July 2020 podcast interview, Rotherham survivor Dr. Ella Hill described abusive language and acts that embodied this sense of superiority. She recounted being made to bend down and kiss her perpetrator's feet as a deliberate act to underscore her inferiority. She also spoke of another Rotherham victim who, during gang rapes by dozens of men, was forced to lick their feet clean because they believed they were morally superior to her. Hill observed, it's a Muslim superiority thing. They believe they have maximum moral authority to command the people beneath them to lick their feet. She further noted that her rapists viewed non-Muslim habits as inherently impure. Quote, if you're eating pork, you are unclean, you're dirty. If you use a knife and fork, you're dirty. If you don't eat your food with your hands.
Yeah. If you don't eat with your filthy hands that you wipe your butt with and stuff like that, use a fork.
These are subhuman, filthy animals, man. Subhuman animals. Filthy, subhuman animals. Filthy, filthy, subhuman animals. These are non-human beings. These rapists, these gang rapists, everyone who does it and everyone who agrees with it and everyone who makes excuses for it, they are non-human, filthy creatures that are below cockroaches, below anything that you can possibly think of. I'll leave it at that for now. You know, I have something to add here. I grew up in Germany among lots of Muslim immigrants. It is a very, very well-known thing, even as a gag, as a joke, or as a mockery among Muslim populations. It's very, very well known that men generally have this attitude there, that they will have sexual relationships as Muslims with the local non-Muslim white girls and women, but that they will eventually not marry any of them, but they will eventually, when their family pressures them to get married, find a pure, right, a pure virgin Muslim woman from back home and then marry her. And this is the general thing, where they will live their lives and basically have sex with, by consent or by force, with as many of the local white women as possible, just to then end up breaking up with them or dumping them, and then finding a pure virgin Muslim woman from their home country and then getting married and acting all holy and pure and wonderful. Of course, this behavior is only reserved for the men, not for the women. The women would be killed if they did something like that. Us and them mindset. It is the Islamic principle known as al-wala wal-bara, loyalty and disavowal, commands Muslims to direct their love and allegiance toward what pleases God, what pleases Allah, while hating, avoiding, and distancing themselves from what displeases Him. I would really like to see, it would have been really much better had they put Allah in every instance in such context instead of
Would have been better.
Because it is not God. Even when they quote the Quran, it's not God, it is Allah. When they say Allahu Akbar, it's not God is great, it is Allah is the greatest, or Allah is greater. It is Allah, it's not God. And even that aside, so both objectively, right, Allah and God are not really the same thing. It's a different thing. Allah is the proper name of the Islamic God in Islam. And aside from that, from a Christian perspective, I think we should also not be doing any of the mixing up here and describing what Muslims believe in as God, capital G, God. It is Allah. It is a different thing, a poor attempt to imitate what Christians and Jews believed in at the time. From Muhammad's perspective, he tried to imitate the God of the Jews and the Christians, and he came up with Allah. That Allah is not capital G God. It's the pagan Islamic God. And yes, I'm aware that some Christians in the Muslim world, or in Arabic-speaking countries, may also colloquially refer to God as Allah, but that is just a habit. That is just a cultural thing. Allah in Islam is the proper name of the Islamic God, who is a joke, the God of the rapists. In essence, it calls for loving and supporting fellow believers and rejecting non-believers. Accurate. This teaching draws on several Quranic verses, including, "Let not the believers take the disbelievers as allies, rather than of believers. Whoever does that has nothing from God, unless you guard yourselves as a precaution. You who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. They are allies of each other. Whoever of you takes them as allies is already one of them. Surely Allah does not guide the people who are evildoers. Yet you see those in whose hearts is a sickness. They are quick to turn to them. Whoever takes Allah as an ally and his messenger and those who believe, surely the party of Allah, they are the victors." So in short, do not befriend the Jews and the Christians. Christians and Jews are friends of each other, and whoever of you befriends the Jews or the Christians, he is one of them, and Allah hates them. Surah 5, verse 51 to 52 and 56. There was a good example for you in Abraham and those who were with him when they said to their people, "Surely we are quit of you and what you serve instead of Allah. We repudiate you, and between us and you enmity has appeared and hatred forever until you believe in Allah alone." Chapter 60, verse 4. This is where the Quran puts words in Abraham's mouth and depicts him as somebody who started this whole policy of we will always hate you, disbelievers, until you believe in Allah.
And that was important because Surah 60, verse 8, that is one of the most common verses Muslims go to argue that Islam is a religion of peace. It says Allah doesn't forbid you from showing kindness, and is talking about like one of your family members who's not a Muslim yet and so on. Of course, if you look at a commentary like Tafsir Jalalain, he says this was abrogated by commands to fight and subjugate them. But one of the easy things to do is just point out, hey, wait a minute, just 4 verses earlier, it gives the example of Abraham, who, by the way, never did this. This is the Islamic Abraham, who is a jihadi. The Islamic Abraham says, hey, until you convert to Islam, there is enmity and hatred between us forever. Forever. And the Quran says you have a good example for you in Abraham. What's a good example of Abraham? Endless hostility between you and non-Muslims.
Indeed. I'm sorry, I just find British insults sometimes very funny. So.
Yeah, they are. It's weird that we don't have that. They have all these weird insults that we don't have.
It's a very
like wanker.
Yeah, it's a very vulgar term here.
They got wanker, slag. People don't know what the heck they're talking about over here when they hear these things.
These passages emphasize that Muslims should maintain strong bonds within the Muslim community while keeping non-Muslims at a distance and harboring enmity toward them. The Quran warns that Allah views non-Muslims with contempt, and that Muslims who befriend, ally with, or associate closely with them risk being regarded by Allah as disbelievers themselves. While some Muslims downplay this doctrine, revivalist movements, which have gained considerable influence in Western countries, have actively promoted it, presenting strict adherence to loyalty and disavowal as vital for the Muslim community's success in carrying out its divine mission. And it would be very, very useful here to point out who are the perpetrators of this, the influence that these traditionalists and revivalists have earned in the West. The perpetrators, those who have funded these activities, those who have led to the influence and the revival of the revivalists, of the Salafis and others, are Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and other countries. Those that outright now or outwardly now act like, oh no, we have nothing to do with the extremists, and we have no idea why the extremists are growing in the West, and you shouldn't even be allowing this. Yeah, we funded all of this. We funded all the stuff in the universities and the mosques and the streets. But hey, we are not sure why you have all these extremists in your Western streets. We don't have that stuff over here. These oil-rich bastard countries were the ones who caused the activities of Salafis and others in the West to begin with, and they also helped the spread of Islamist groups and of rape gangs and of terrorism and so on. Qatar is the number one perpetrator of that, but Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have also done that.
Hey, yo.
What?
Just check the private chat real quick and tell me yes or no.
Yes. I did
Yes.
not, but I will. Yes.
No, I'm saying I can do it right now if you want.
Oh, no, I will do it.
Okay. All right.
Beyond its theological role, al-Wala wal-Bara has profoundly shaped certain Islamic cultures. In such environments, many Muslims feel strong pressure not to say or do anything that could damage the image of the Muslim community or bring discredit to Islam. Within an honor and shame-based framework reinforced by these values, speaking out to outsiders about wrongdoings committed by fellow Muslims is often seen as an act of betrayal. This is very, very important. This dynamic can have serious real-world consequences. For example, in her book, The Imam's Daughter, Hanan, later known as Hannah, described her experience as a 14 or 15-year-old Pakistani teenager in Britain. After confiding in a female teacher that her father, an imam, was beating her, the teacher informed the deputy head, who arranged for a male Pakistani Muslim social worker to meet with her at school. Initially terrified because of his background, Hanan eventually opened up to him about being treated as a domestic servant, fearing a forced marriage, and enduring physical abuse. That same afternoon, she returned home to find the social worker speaking with her father and relaying everything she had said. While the social worker was present, her father acted kindly, but once he left, her father subjected her to a severe beating and rape, threatened to kill her if she ever spoke again, and imprisoned her in the cellar for days. When Hanan later encountered the social worker at school and refused further contact, he reportedly told her, "Hey, I was just doing what I thought was right. You know that. It's not right to betray your community." This is a very, very common, and people don't understand how important and how brutal this is. This is a very, very common thing among Muslims in the West, in non-Muslim societies. You will have Muslim groups in the West, in Britain and in other countries, and they will have this attitude of protecting their own against the foreigners, against the others, against the majority, against the non-Muslims, against the white British people. This is why the following happens. You have rape gangs. You have guys imprisoning, using, and raping white British girls. At some point, certain family members and others who are also fellow Muslims of Pakistani origin, let's say, find out about it. And those people, let's say, don't agree with what the rape gangs are doing. Despite being personally disgusted with it, and despite personally disagreeing with rape gangs, they will not tell on their fellow Pakistani Muslims. They will not go to the police. They will not go to the police. They will not go to the authorities. Because telling on their fellow Pakistani Muslims means betraying their community, which is why they will not go to the police. They will try to either resolve it internally, or they will be quiet about it and shut up. Because a dirty white girl isn't worth it anyway. You do not want to betray your fellow Muslim community. You don't want to do that. This is how they operate. Which is why this is not just limited to the rape gang perpetrators and the rapists themselves. So many people who themselves do not rape are also in on it. They're also guilty here because they are part of this honor culture and of this group behavior of protecting each other, not betraying each other, not telling on each other, not telling the authorities about each other. And if it were for me, you would pack all of these people into a van or into vans or put them all onto a boat and tell them it's time to piss off. And even if you have no place to go, we do not care. Time to leave. Go away. There is no place in our country for your filthy kind.
There is a place to go. It's called Pakistan. It's made for people like that.
Alternatively, you could bring back certain laws and say, all right, line up, face the wall, and wait for the sound of the gunshots. I think I would prefer that much more, to be honest.
There is a more peaceful way. There's an entire continent that no one's using. It's called Antarctica.
That is true, but then you will end up with a. What if you end up with a with a new society there, just made up of criminals and rapists? It almost sounds like Australia.
Yeah, I was trying. I mean, I thought you were going with what do you do when you end up with all these Muslim penguin hybrids?
Yeah,
down there.
That's true. Leave the penguins alone.
Leave those penguins alone, Pakistanis.
Or you could put these people into certain.
You know what you did to the freaking dolphins.
You could put them into vessels and experiment, like sending them to outer space and see what happens, or something like that. I don't know. You could figure something out. Similar patterns have appeared in accounts from grooming gang survivors. Some have described approaching the police only to be interviewed by Muslim officers who switched off the recording device and urged her to abandon her complaint due to supposed lack of evidence.
Yeah, can you imagine this? You're talking like, so you got like an 11-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl comes in there. I've been gang raped, and sitting down with a police officer. But the Muslim police officer says, oh, sorry, dear. Nothing you're saying counts as evidence. None of this is good enough.
Sister, I will talk to you. I will talk to these people that you're complaining about, and I will get to the truth. Don't worry, sister.
Yeah. And you go talk to the guys. Hey, get this girl under control. She's trying to report you guys. So make sure she understands never to do that again. Don't worry. I told her that there's nothing police can do. So she's completely helpless, and you can spend the next 10 years raping her and all her friends.
I mean, I'll be very honest. If I am in the UK, I would be very, very very worried to go to the police and talk to a Muslim police officer about any problems that I experience. I'm not even sure if it's possible to go to the police and to say, sorry, I would like to speak to a different police officer.
You're being an Islamophobe.
Yes, I am.
You're being an Islamophobe. Why don't you want to talk to Staff Sergeant Muhammad Ahmed from Pakistan? He won Officer of the Year, voted on by his fellow Muslims.
Here's the quote, the source, by the way, the book, Hannah Shah, the Imam's Daughter, and My Desperate Flight to Freedom. Let's make a note of that. All right, continue. A deeply ingrained culture of enforced loyalty and community protection can discourage individuals from reporting abuses or providing evidence against members of their own group. Had the social worker in Hanan's case reported her disclosures to the police, leading to her father facing criminal charges, he would have exposed himself, and by extension those associated with him, to the serious risk of being labeled a traitor within the community. A traitor within the community. The prominent.
By the way, can you imagine this? Like, that's how it is in Pakistan, right? Hey, I can't side with a Christian or a Hindu against my own people, because then I'm going to be, at best, an outcast among my own people. That's how it is in Pakistan, and that's why police can't do anything about this. But then you import tons and tons and tons of these people who have the exact same mentality, and you make them police officers in the UK, in areas where you have the rape gangs and so on. And they have the exact same mentality. How am I going to side with a non-Muslim girl over the Muslim community? Can't do it. Be an outcast and a traitor among my own people. And so, even if you're not partaking, and by the way, we know from the reports, some of the girls said there was basically cop day, where it's understood, okay, this is the day when the cops come in and rape you. So some cops are actually in on it. They're actually doing it. But the ones who aren't, the Pakistani men, they're not reporting on their own people. Now, what's the crazy part is, as evil and disgusting as that is, you at least understand how this is like rooted in Islam and their ideas and how they've been influenced by this for centuries and so on. What about the non-Muslims who are scared to talk about this? They're just scared of being called a name. They're just scared of being called racist or something like that.
That is true. Sergeant Wackass Abdul Muhammad Al-Kalbi. Yeah, that's true.
Wackass. That's a real name, by the way.
Just like Mansoor.
I want to ask Jai what whack-ass means in Arabic. You know, it'd be super funny if it actually meant whack-ass. Just like it's spelled and just like it sounds.
Or you can just do a 5-second research and look it up. The Arabic name.
No, it really sucks. It really sucks because that dude whack-ass was he was in the chat. We were having discussions with him. And then he showed up to the next live stream, and then he stopped showing up when he was bringing joy to tons of people just by being named Whack-Ass Ahmed.
The Arabic name of Waqas, also spelled Whack-Ass, is a traditional masculine given name. Its primary meanings include warrior, brave, soldier, and strong. Derived from the root word Waqasa, it can also literally translate to breaker or destroyer, symbolizing courage, resilience, and firmness. Recently, it has also been associated with the English whack ass. Huh. I made that last one up, but anyway. The prominent Indian Pakistani Muslim thinker and revivalist Abu Ala Maududi, in his influential work, Let Us Be Muslims, maintained that Muslims cannot achieve true success until their highest allegiance is given to Allah and to the Muslim Ummah. The doctrine of loyalty and disavowal exerts particularly strong pressure when Muslims live as a minority in non-Muslim host societies. In such settings, as they seek to preserve and assert a powerful collective identity, Muslims may place even greater emphasis on internal solidarity and separation from non-believers than they would in their countries of origin. That is very, very correct. That is exactly my observation. I can confirm. Having grown up as a Muslim in Germany. Next point. Let's take a few super chats here. Grapes to Jannah says, David Wood, if US won the World Cup, Europe could lose interest in soccer and take up other sports like basketball. Mike Winger's favorite sport is soccer, by the way.
I could have told you that without having any clue.
Soccer. Aaron Harlow. Keir Starmer and the rest of the UK government is like Lot in Genesis 19, the way they hand girls over to attackers to avoid being called a bad name. Nice. Berit Moot says, since your live stream Tuesday night, I'm filled with unyielding rage and can't see this report as anything other than casus belli. Casus belli. You know, I've always read this word. I've never heard it spoken. David, how do you actually say this word?
How would I know?
It means a war cause or war justification, whatever. I'm not wondering about the English pronunciation. I'm wondering about the actual Latin pronunciation of it. Casus belli. Okay, good. It's loud and clear. Jesus, only you can change these hardened hearts. Help me never to become other than that which you made me to be in your image and likeness. Amen. Amen. Amen indeed. Sahandip Kobak says, great to see the truth being exposed despite the great attempt to have it hidden. Indeed. Chad Lennox, if you don't eat your food like an ape, you are unclean. This is the truth. Exactly. Welcome to the club. Sivako says, if I was a British woman reading this report, I would be terrified for my own well-being right now. There's clearly no help for them. Yes. And those who also say believe women, the leftists, will, by the way, deny all of this and act like it's not going on, which is very, very interesting. You have hundreds and thousands of women saying that they have been mistreated and held captive and treated as slaves and raped. But those who say believe all women will not stand up for them and not support them. They have the support now of those who are deemed racist and Islamophobic. One interesting thing after this, maybe, to check out would be an interview that Michael Knowles just had with Sammy Woodhouse. He actually invited her and had her over and did an interview with her. I'm really curious to see how that worked out.
We'll play it, man.
It's 45 minutes long.
Oh.
No prosecution deal with our shadow.
So,
well, should we go through that tomorrow, or to the Gavin Ortland? What's that guy's name? DeYoung.
Well, am I your producer now? Am I in charge of deciding what you do or what?
I think this is kind of more time sensitive in terms of all this stuff's just coming out now. But
this is true. This is true. Hey, I just saw that Winston Churchill published this little short video from our interview, which was very nice to see.
The Winston Churchill?
Yeah. Winston Churchill. Al-Dawa is getting more exposure. Look at this. Look at this. Al-Dawa is getting the exposure he wants.
Just several years ago, one of the most popular Muslim preachers and YouTubers here, by the name of Al-Dawa, explicitly said publicly on a YouTube video that people like me, he was talking about me specifically, he said, people like you who leave their religion and spread corruption by spreading it, the capital punishment will be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we are proud of that. And
wow, you've played that so many times, you have it memorized, dude.
I know.
Watching.
The question is, why are you dressed like a banker, man?
I don't know. I decided to put on a jacket.
Sold out, dude. You sold out.
I know.
We will be watching.
People like you, little weaklings who leave their religion.
You should have done the voice though.
In the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Yeah. Capital punish will be applied in an Islamic state. Under an emir, it is done, yes. And we, you know what, we'll be watching.
His Muslim followers were largely in agreement with that. But here is the problem. What he believes is, right now, I cannot say that we will do this or should be doing this. However, we should be working toward turning more and more people in this country to Muslims. And once we have the means, we should start implement Islamic laws. And then that would be part of the laws that we establish. It is a long-term goal. These people think about having a long-term project where they want to turn this country over time into a Muslim country, and the demographics are not in our favor, not in your favor. They're very much in their favor as it goes and as it seems. Just
boost.
Yeah, what you were saying, but you show up in a tuxedo for a YouTube interview, man.
Tuxedo because I put a blazer on.
I'm sorry, I got a big wedding to go to afterwards, and I have to give a speech and stuff. And
dude, I'm sitting down in an interview with Winston Churchill. What do you want me to wear? Nothing.
Hey, little side note, I wasn't even thinking of this, but you got these little brief windows where people actually pay attention to what's what Islam teaches. So this is actually a good time to replay some of those. Reshare, like on X and so on, those classic clips from Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab and all those guys. Because people are listening right now.
See.
AP, but AP is going to keep dressing like that, and then he's going to be like, "Oh no, I'm too sophisticated. I sit here in my tuxedo, sipping on, I don't know what rich people sip, or sipping on this and smoking my pipe and talking about Winston Churchill.
I can no longer talk to David
I can't talk to you losers anymore. Here I am sipping Chateau de Chasseois, smoking my pipe in my tuxedo."
Chateau what now? Superiority and dominance of men over women. Islam establishes that men hold the position of managers or maintainers, wakas, over women, as stated in Surah 4, verse 34. Qawwamun. Where the role involves ensuring women remain in their... Hey, we should do this from now on. Whenever there's an Arabic word, we should just say wakas.
Mm-hmm.
Where the role involves ensuring women remain in their proper state. Or we should always, whenever there's an Arabic word, we should play... Under Islamic law, every woman remains under the guardianship.
Hey, you know what would have been funny?
What?
Because you got people say Muhammad's real name was Kulthum and so on, and you have Muhammad and Ahmed and so on. Would have been funny if their final prophet's name was whack ass. Wouldn't that have been way cooler? Yes, and yes, there is no God but Allah, and whack ass is his messenger, and that's like their shahada, and they have to say that. They have to say that all the time.
That would have been very, very nice.
They would say, "Hey, everyone needs to believe in whack ass.
Whack ass.
Everyone needs to believe in our whack ass prophet."
You know what's fantastic though? Since the whole thing happened, right now, while all of this is happening, the European Union Parliament surprisingly passed a law for the sending back of immigrants, for the easy sending back of immigrants upon one. I have to look into the law further. I haven't really had the time to do that. And also stricter immigration laws. And here you have members of the European Parliament shouting the following. Send them back.
That is something I never thought I'd see from the European Parliament, man.
European Parliament. The European Parliament. The European Union Parliament. Chance of send them back. Send them back. That is incredible. Incredible to see. I was very, very pleased to see this. Alhamdulillah.
It's cool they're speaking in English.
I know. I was expecting Arabic chants, but it's actually English. Hey, have you seen the recent...
I'm saying, dude, that is so out of line with everything I've ever heard from the European Parliament. I don't even believe that, and I've got to see some confirmation of that.
Yeah, you can check it out. You can check it out. You can check it out. I should add this here to my soundboard, by the way.
You see, it was a Muslim. It was a Muslim was sharing that and saying, "I now believe Muhammad Hijab is insane."
Yeah. What the hell is going on? Oh man. Anyway, let's get back.
No, hey, I'm looking at this. I see people are complaining. When I search for European Parliament and send them back, what popped up was today Europe has approved treating other human beings like garbage, capturing them just as they arrive and sending them back to other countries as if they were packages. And they've done it applauding to the cry of send them back. How fascist and how much of a crappy person do you have to be to do this? Good point. Good point.
You have to be a very based person. Wait, let me check out this here. Here's a clip. Breaking: EU Parliament erupts. Send them back. Send them back. Huge win for patriots. The EU has just voted 418 to 218 in favor of deporting illegal immigrants easier. Patriots chanted "Send them back," while leftists returned with "Shame on you."
High five on that.
This is very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Just imagine a weird, I mean, like lots of people have kind of basically given up on Europe. There are certain places in Europe that we think, okay, these guys are pretty based here, you know, Poland, stuff like that. But it's kind of given up on Europe, and then all of a sudden you see that out of nowhere. It's like, what would happen if Europe became like strong and based again? Wouldn't that be weird?
Europe is going to become strong and based again very, very soon. The time is running out for those who have taken advantage. Superiority and dominance of men over women. Islam establishes that men hold the position of managers or maintainers, or also known as over women. As stated in Surah 4, verse 34, where the role involves ensuring women remain in their proper state. Under Islamic law, every woman remains under the guardianship of a male relative. Normally, this is her father. Should the father be unable to serve due to death, loss of mental capacity, or apostasy from Islam, as I just explained earlier, a specified order of male relatives from the paternal line steps in, starting with the paternal grandfather, then sons, brothers, nephews, and uncles. Surah 4:34 further authorizes men to discipline their wives, including through physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
Numerous authoritative sources in Sharia regulations reinforce the notion of women's inferiority to men. Surah 2, verse 228 declares that men hold a rank above women. The Prophet Muhammad stated that women are deficient in both religion and intelligence relative to men. Say that. And in the same hadith, he noted that women form the majority of those in hell.
That's true.
He also taught that if a woman or a dog passes in front of a praying man, the prayer is invalidated. A reason mosques position men with their backs to women during prayers. Exactly.
Yes, the men are like I want only men to have their rear ends in my face.
Yeah.
Like the men of al Zut.
And the women are basically placed where the Zut would be. Sharia obliges a wife to engage in sexual intercourse with her husband whenever he desires it. If she refuses, Muhammad said the angels will curse her until morning. Mm-hmm. I'm actually very surprised by this. Even if you have a quite well anti-Islamic informed source talking about things like these, you rarely see this much accurate detail stated in a report.
Yeah, they're working with some people here, or they did a ton of research, but most likely they contacted some very knowledgeable people and said, take us through all this stuff and make sure we're getting all this right about what's in their sources.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy to see this awareness here. Mm-hmm. People need to know this everywhere. Divorce under Sharia strongly favors men. A husband may unilaterally divorce his wife without stating a reason, simply by pronouncing "I divorce you" 3 times. For a wife, obtaining a divorce is far more difficult, typically involving a formal legal process and often a financial cost. Following divorce, the mother may retain physical custody of young children up to a particular age, but the father retains legal guardianship. Moreover, if the mother remarries, she loses the right to have children from her previous marriage reside with her. Sharia rules on evidence further diminish women's status. valuing a woman's testimony at half that of a man's. Inheritance laws under Sharia generally allocate women half the share given to men. For example, a son receives twice the portion of a daughter. A wife or wives together inherit 1/4 of a husband's estate if he leaves no children, or 1/8 if he does leave children. In contrast, a husband inherits half of his wife's estate if she has no children, or 1/4 if she does. Sharia's approach to rape also disadvantages women. Rape is categorized as a form of zina, illicit sexual intercourse, the same offense that covers adultery and fornication. Zina is defined as a sexual intercourse between a man and a woman who is neither his wife nor his slave. There is no distinct offense of rape. It is treated as coerced zina. And marital rape is not recognized. The penalty for the rapists mirrors that for consensual extramarital sex: 100 lashes for an unmarried person, or stoning to death for one who is or has been married. When a woman accuses a man of rape, her consent is presumed unless both the act of penetration and her lack of consent are proven by 4 male eyewitnesses who each directly observed the man's penis entering the woman's vagina. Naturally, the presence of 4 men witnessing a rape without intervening makes it highly improbable they would testify in the victim's favor. Should a woman allege rape but fail to produce the 4 required male witnesses, she risks being convicted of zina on the basis of her own accusation.
Yep, that's why so many women in Pakistan, vast majority of women in prison in Pakistan are there for being raped. And they either reported the rape, but we can't prove it. We can't prove it. We don't have 4 witnesses, or the male witnesses who were gathered around gang raping me, shockingly, wouldn't report what happened. Or they get raped and they become pregnant. So in other words, they don't want to report it. They don't want to report it because they know they won't be believed and they can't prove it Islamically. So here's the situation, guys. Woman gets raped. If she decides to go to police, she walks into police, says, I've been raped. They said, okay, who are all your witnesses? She says, no, it's just my word versus his. And he says, what? No, I didn't. Never happened. And then they say, okay, well, you can't prove this against him, but you just admitted that you had sex. So now you're going to prison for a long, long time. So either that happens, but lots of women know that's going to happen. So they don't even bother going to police, but some of them get raped and then become pregnant. And then it's, hey, what happened there? Oh, I was raped. Well, sorry, you can't prove that, but we know you had sex because you're pregnant. Therefore, and they send them to prison. And this is this. And somehow Western leaders were like, hey, we've got a bunch of people who think like that. You know, it'd be great. Let's bring in as many of these people as possible who think like this and put them around a bunch of 11 and 12-year-old white British girls.
That is correct. And it almost looks like this report was written by David, because in the very next sentence here it says, in 2003, Pakistan's National Commission on the Status of Women reported that up to 88% of women imprisoned in Pakistan were rape or gang rape victims who, unable to meet the 4 witness requirement, were instead convicted of illicit sex.
Mm-hmm.
Let's read that again.
Mm-hmm.
In 2003, Pakistan's National Commission on the Status of Women reported that up to 88% of women imprisoned in Pakistan were rape or gang rape victims who, unable to meet the 4 witness requirement, were instead convicted of illicit sex. Taken together, these Sharia provisions that institutionalize male dominance over women exert a profound influence. In cultures shaped by Islam, boys can be raised to grow into men who assume rightful control over the women in their lives, confident in their inherent superiority. That is absolutely correct. Take these super chats here. Kit Kat AP's #1 fan. What's up, Kit Kat AP's #1 fan? I'm glad you're exposing and shaming this evil. Thank you. I'm glad too. And I'm glad you're here to listen. Ty Rockter says, for comparison, the Epstein list has about 1,000 estimated victims. Remember, we were told there were no Muslims on the list. That's a good point. And you also see
by the way, that was also false. There were Muslims on the list.
Yeah, there were Muslims on the list. There is also a trend going on right now. Lots of those who obsess over Epstein will not talk about this report here of rape gangs in the UK. You also have the usual suspects, the usual people, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and so many others. They're not talking about this report. For some reason, it is of no importance to them. It is of no consequence to them.
Do you
They
know
don't want
why?
to talk about this. Why?
Here's why. It's actually similar to what happens with the politicians. So we've seen this actually goes back to the 1950s in the UK. That's when they started. That's when they started getting their first reported cases of gangs of Pakistani men raping girls. Right. Then it increased over the decades, got worse in the 70s, worse in the 80s, 90s. They just start bringing in as many like Pakistanis as possible and so on. And then it's getting worse and worse. But eventually it goes from tiny little minority to tons of people in this city. And at that point, the politicians need that voting block. So since this is your new voting block, you can't be in power in that city. You're not going to be elected if you upset these guys. Now think about why that's creepy. You mean we can't expose gang rapists in your community? We're bad. You won't vote for us if we expose gang rapists in your community? I wouldn't trust a politician who didn't expose gang rapists, right? But nope, there the community says you can't talk about this stuff. But here's the thing. As the numbers increase, you can't criticize it anymore because you become dependent on these. Well, what happened with Candace and Tucker and everyone else? Well, they've become dependent on their Muslim fans and viewers because they spent the past couple of years going after Israel, which got them lots of Muslim fans, lots of funding from Muslims. And now what are you going to do? Go against Muslims over the grooming gangs? Not happening. So it's a parallel situation.
This guy said Muslims make up 6% of the UK, yet commit 95% of the child rape. We are far too nice to Muslims. That's pretty racist and Islamophobic. Very, very bigoted and racist. You can see lots of people have reacted to this. Matt Walsh gladly has been covering it, and he's also been pointing out that this is significantly worse than the whole Epstein thing. And for some reason, people obsessed with it don't want to talk about it. And he does not understand why they don't want to talk about it. And we will never know. We will never know why. We will never really understand why. We will never, ever know why. Here's a little clip of him.
On Tuesday, a member of parliament in the UK named Rupert Lowe released a 219-page report documenting the government's complicity in the systematic rape of an estimated 250,000 young white girls in Britain over the past several decades. I mean, this is the worst sexual abuse scandal the Western world has seen in modern times, and it's not particularly close. And yet you'll find that the same media and the same politicians and the same commentators, some even on the right, who have obsessed over Epstein, for example, will say nothing at all about this. Now, Epstein, of course, was a monster. I've always advocated for full transparency with the Epstein files. I still do. But the scale of this rape gang scandal, the nature of the crimes, the number of victims, the powerful institutions directly and explicitly implicated, all of that dwarfs Epstein by several orders of magnitude. So when the people who claim to want justice for Epstein's victims ignore the hundreds of thousands of victims in this case, you should pay attention to that and never trust those people again.
Absolutely agreed. I agree with every single word that Matt Walsh spoke here. You have Tommy Robinson saying, "Mate, you're not talking about this," to Tucker Carlson. "Mate, you're not talking about this." Then you have this guy here, very Islamophobic. He posted, "Islam started as a rape gang," which is a pretty messed up thing to say, man. What the hell? What the
That's
hell?
extremely messed up.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Yurik Petter says, "Trend among scared young Muslims prefer leaving UK." Nice. I agree with them. The seclusion of women. Islamic law contains multiple provisions that mandate the covering and seclusion of women. It is widely recognized that a Muslim woman must cover most of her body when appearing in public. Additionally, Sharia grants a male guardian the authority to restrict a girl's or a woman's movements, allowing him to confine a wife or daughter to the home and permit her to leave only when accompanied by a male relative and for a valid reason. This is reflected in Surah 33, verse 33, which instructs women, "Stay in your houses and do not flaunt yourselves." One consequence of the Sharia-derived culture of covering and seclusion is that a woman who appears in public without covering or remains outside the protected space of the home may be culturally perceived as unguarded and therefore sexually available or promiscuous. This is very, very correct. And the early Muslim commentators also, by the way, point that out as a fact, that that the hijab is instituted so to separate the pious and good Muslim women from disbelievers, prostitutes, and slaves. That is basically the perspective of the hijab traditionally to begin with. Muslim women are supposed to be covered up and stay at home. Those who needlessly go outside and show themselves are basically seen as prostitutes, disbelievers, and slaves who are just asking to be raped. That's the Islamic perspective. This notion that an uncovered woman invites molestation is suggested in Surah 33, verse 59 of the Quran, where Muhammad is instructed that his wives and daughters should cover themselves so that they are not abused.
Yusuf Ali, the Yusuf Ali translation says so that they are not molested.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so two crazy things about that. So one, what they're pointing out here, it's, hey, you have to dress like a frumpy ninja if you don't want to be molested. It's okay, well, if I don't dress like that, then what? Then you're basically asking to be molested and abused by men. And so you're asking for it. So that's one creepy part. The other creepy part is even women who dress like that get molested all the time in Muslim countries. Even during the Hajj, walking around the Kaaba.
This was a case back in a few years ago where Muslim women who went to the pilgrimage in Mecca were reporting that they are harassed and sexually molested and groped in Mecca around the Kaaba all the time, and they were silenced for that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I mean, think about how crazy that is, right? So it started after the Me Too movement, and then they started Mosque Me Too when they started talking about, but most of the stories ended up being about going on the Hajj, and then guys, like she said, I'm walking the circles around the Kaaba, and I got guys feeling me and groping me all over the place, just constantly. There's nothing you could do about it while you're there. They report this, and then 3 or 4 days later, you'd see their post is gone. Yeah. And they're basically pressured by their fellow Muslims. No, you're making Islam look bad. No, stop this. And so they silence the victims, as they always do. And it's very difficult to find any of those anymore. There were tons of them. I actually have a ton of them because I was taking screenshots. Once I noticed, once you post one, 3 days later it's gone, I started screenshotting them. So I actually have on one of my old drives, I have a ton of those. It is very difficult to find anyone who left them up because they'd be constantly harassed by Muslims to take it down, and they would eventually take it down. But I mean, think about that. They're sexually assaulted on the Hajj, walking around the Kaaba, and then when they try to say something about it, they're silenced. And it's like, this is how they're treating Muslim women at their holiest site. What do you think they're going to do with some non-Muslim women?
Indeed. Indeed. Certain Islamic preachers have explicitly endorsed this view. Following the high-profile convictions of Muslim men of Lebanese background for rape in Sydney, Australia, the country's Grand Mufti Sheikh Taj al-Din al-Hilali controversially placed blame on the victims for not being covered and not remaining in their homes. He stated, if you take out uncovered meat and place it outside without cover, and the cats come to eat it, whose fault is it, the cats or the uncovered meats? Because the women are, if they go outside uncovered, they are uncovered meat. The uncovered meat is the problem. If she was in her room, in her home, in her hijab, no problem would have occurred. You see? In making these remarks, Sheikh al-Hilali was presenting Islamic norms as the remedy to crimes of the kind committed by rape gangs. According to this perspective, if individuals adopted Islam and adhered to its rules, women and girls would be protected from such abuses because they would be kept secluded, placed under permanent male supervision, and rendered invisible to outsiders. There you go. There are about 10 more pages left of this, but I want to stop it here and maybe continue some other time. NDCOG says, where can I donate for y'all to purchase Qurans for whatever y'all decide to do with them? I would like at least a page for each victim mentioned. You can go on David, do you have a donation website or something?
Like Patreon and stuff. The links are under my videos, but yeah, I do spend money on Qurans.
I do too. Mine is apostateprophet.com/donate. That's where you can send
because normally
thousands of dollars for me to get thousands of Qurans.
Yeah, because normally if you just if someone at a dawah booth hands you a Quran, it's usually English translation, usually the clear Quran and stuff like this. But if you want like the good Arabic stuff, yeah, you normally just gotta buy these. Although I did get a bunch from a Muslim site that gives them out free as long as you pay for shipping, but then they charge you a ton for shipping. Charge like $150 for shipping for a box and stuff. So they clearly had some deal with someone who said, I want these Qurans to be handed out free, and they said, okay, we'll ship them out free, but then they act like shipping is way more expensive than it is.
That's true. I have a Quran right here. I have these little Qurans in Arabic, and it's quite nice, quite easy, quite handy.
Hey, AP.
What?
I just went to Ibn Kathir's commentary on Surah 33, verse 59, which they cited there, verse 59. Ibn Kathir commenting on that part, which they translated as abused. Yusuf Ali translates as molested. You cover yourself so that you're not molested. Here it's translated that that will be better, that they should be known so as not to be annoyed, right? You don't want to annoy anyone, right? But anyway, Ibn Kathir says this means if they do that, it will be known that they are free and that they are not servants or whores.
Yep.
So you dress up like that to show that you're not a whore. What's the implication? That if you refuse to dress like that, that you're basically a whore.
Yep, that's what Ibn Kathir says. That's what Ibn Kathir said, indeed.
He did say that.
He did say that. So women who don't wear the hijab are whores. That's what he means. There's more to go through here. I kind of want to continue. Let me just read a little bit more. Forced marriage and the age of consent. Under Sharia, marriage takes the form of a contract arranged between two men, the groom and the bride's male guardian, her wali. The structure closely resembles a contract of sale. The groom pays an agreed sum, known as the mahr, to the bride, and in exchange she becomes sexually available to him. Islamic jurisprudence sets no minimum age at which a girl or a woman may be married. Religious authorities permit a father to arrange a marriage for his daughter, even while she is still an infant. Correct. The Prophet Muhammad himself married Aisha when she was 6.
Yep.
An arrangement made between Muhammad and her father, and consummated the marriage when she was 9. The Quran itself addresses the remarriage of a divorced girl who has not reached menstruation, who has not yet reached menstruation. Surah 6, verse 50, Surah 65, verse 4. These guys know, man.
It does
They
say
know.
that.
Sharia distinguishes between types of guardians. The bride's father or paternal grandfather is termed a wali, mujbir, forcing guardian, because certain schools of Islamic law allow him to compel a virgin daughter or granddaughter into marriage without her consent. The notion that a girl must reach a particular age before she can consent to sexual activity is foreign to Islam. In Islamic teaching, the only lawful context for a woman to consent to sex is through marriage, and even that consent is not always required. Significantly, the Arabic term nikah denotes both marriage and sexual intercourse. Sharia, in effect, merges the two concepts. An unmarried woman is forbidden from engaging in sex, while a married woman has no right under Sharia to refuse sexual relations with her husband. This is very, very correct. Hadith further states that a virgin's silence constitutes consent to marriage. This merging of consent to marriage and consent to sex sheds light on Dr. Hill's account that her rapists interpreted their victim's silence as consent to the rape, drawing on these same hadiths. Islamic scholars differ on the degree of physical or emotional maturity needed for sexual intercourse. But this is getting a really bad taste in my mouth. Wait a minute. So there was a Quran. Okay. Some hold that the onset of puberty serves as the threshold for readiness, though Muhammad consummated his marriage with the 9-year-old Aisha before she reached puberty, and others permit thighing, intercrural sex with a wife who is menstruating or considered too young for vaginal penetration. This practice Dr. Hill also described. These observations suggest that Muslim grooming gangs may exhibit religious and cultural indifference to the modern concept of an age of consent. In an interview, Andrew Norfolk, one of the first journalists to expose Britain's rape gang scandal, stated that although Islam prohibits sex outside marriage, all 4 schools of Islamic jurisprudence teach that a girl can be married when she reaches puberty, which on average in Britain is 11. When the Muslim Brotherhood government took power in Egypt, one of the new laws that they were going to introduce was to lower the age of consent from 18 to 13. This is true. And disappointment was voiced by certain Salafis and Muslim Brotherhood scholars that it wasn't 9. Gosh. Religion of rape. Religion of pedophilia. And religion of rape. This all sounds a little bit Islamophobic, so let's just hear it once from this guy here. Let's have a look at this video here.
When there are signs of physical maturity, it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Starting puberty unusually early. Like,
is there anything in Islam that prevents you from a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
You can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible. As I
What
said,
about age 4?
if there are signs
3.
of, so this is something that becomes biologically impossible because
I have a
puberty,
study
there are
that shows
no,
it goes as early as 11 months.
well, that's something that the parents would not, see, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when there are signs of physical.
There you go. Allahu Akbar. Islamic State had 9 as the permissible age of a marriage. I don't think there is the same sense of wrongness and shame in some cases about having sex with a 12-year-old girl. Next topic, female sexuality. Islamic canonical sources portray women as possessing sexual desires that are at least as strong as men's, if not stronger, and view these desires as potentially harmful to men. The Prophet Muhammad stated, after me, David, I'm going to mute your mic because your keys are too loud. It sounds like the Al-Zut when they
Some
were.
people running their freaking mouths, man.
It sounds like the.
I said people are running their mouths.
It sounds like the way
The world doesn't
the
stop.
Al-Zut were pounding Muhammad on the night of Al-Zut. The Prophet Muhammad stated, "After me, I have not left any trial more severe to men than women." The Arabic term fitna used here denotes a severe trial that can involve seduction or temptation, leading people astray from faith. And it also carries connotations of chaos that disrupts societal harmony. Muhammad further suggested that men are susceptible to sexual temptation, explaining that Allah has preordained a portion of zina, unlawful sexual intercourse, for every man. Allah has written for the son of Adam his inevitable share of zina, whether he is aware of it or not. One practical expression of anxiety over women's sexuality is the practice of female genital mutilation, which various schools of Islamic law either require either require or strongly recommend as a way to curb excessive female sexual desire. So this is the practice of female genital mutilation, where they cut a young girl's
Clitoris.
parts. It depends in degrees where they cut the hood or the clitoris itself or whatever it is, in order to make the girls, when they grow up, less sexually active or prevent them from ever having pleasure.
Hey, by the way, this makes sense because Ayan Hirsi Ali was one of the people they interviewed.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And she's one of the people, probably more than anyone, who informed people about this that I can think of.
Because it was done to her.
Mm-hmm.
Another reflection. Wait, there's Quran in my teeth. Wait a minute.
Hey,
What?
my son, you know what he suggested the other day?
What?
It's weird how all these years I come up with all these awesome ideas. And as soon as he decided to go after Islam, because they went after his mom, doxed his mom, started harassing his mom, threatening his mom. He wasn't interested before then, but then he got really interested. All of a sudden, he starts coming up with these creative genius ideas. He said, we should make a Quran rage room, right? Where there's Qurans and stuff displayed all over the walls. But you walk in, there's a variety of means of destruction also. There's an axe, a sword, various instruments for destroying these Qurans. And when people get really ticked off after reading something like this, they can go into the Quran rage room and just take out their rage on Qurans while it's filmed. Anyway, I thought that would be a cool addition to the Quran Demolition Ranch. We'll have the Quran Demolition Ranch, but also the Quran rage room, where people get really ticked off. They could go into the Quran rage room and just let loose on Qurans all over the place.
This is kind of funny because I was several years ago, I was thinking it would be nice if there were places that are designed where you can go in and just destroy things. And then recently I just found out that there actually are such things. It's called destruction rooms or rage rooms.
Yeah. No, I know. No, there's one. I drive by one. It's you can just go in there and destroy stuff, and you can bring stuff in there you want to destroy, and they're like, you bring in what you want to destroy if you're mad at a computer or anything else, and you go in there, and we've got all the implements of destruction. You could destroy it, and then you leave, and we'll clean up the mess afterwards and stuff like that. But now we'll have the Quran rage room, man.
Wait, if that is a thing, and they say you can bring whatever you want to destroy, do you think we can bring in a Quran?
That would depend on what kind of people are running the place.
Should try it out. Maybe we can go there. I'll go there and check it out, or I can ask them. Am I permitted to bring a Quran to this place?
Because dude, hang on.
What?
Hey, this is funny. Bluey here said, do that Office Space scene, but with a Quran instead of a printer. What was funny is I just watched that today. I just watched that Office Space scene where they take the printer out to a field and beat the crap out of it. And one's got a baseball bat and they like smash it with a baseball bat. And it's got this gangsta music and stuff like that. We could do that exact same scene, but with a Quran.
Huh.
3 of us, 3 dudes.
This is very, very funny. I'm looking at one of those pages right now, one of those
What?
places. You can book, it's not cheap, $35 for 15 minutes to go and just break random things. You can pay this much money to break 99 bottles, $75. Break and make stuff. This is nice. I want to try that out. You can pay hundreds of dollars and destroy a car. Huh. Very nice. I gotta check that place out, man. Another reflection of, one practical expression of anxiety over women's sexuality is the practice of female genital mutilation, which various schools of Islamic law either require or strongly recommend as a way to curb excessive female sexual desire. Another reflection of the perceived danger posed by female sexuality is the strict separation of the sexes enforced through practices such as veiling women's bodies, restricting them to the home, and the Quranic directive against men and women gazing at one another. Tell the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their private parts that is purer for them. Surely Allah is aware of what they do. And say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their private parts and not show their charms. Surah 24, verse 30-31. Dr. Hill described being subjected.
Muhammad was like, no, don't lower your gaze. Bring your gaze to me in the desert.
Bring a gaze out there. I can spend the night with the gaze. 30 of them. Dr. Hill described being subjected to this rule in practice. I was told to look at the floor whenever I was around Muslim men. She was informed that if a woman looks at a man, that means she wants to have sex with him. Yep. Although female sexuality is seen as a source of fitna, Sharia assigns, so this is actually a very good advice for all the women out there. You should know that if you walk around and you walk by a crowd of Muslim men, especially if you're alone, it's probably good to look away. Because if you look at them, they might perceive it as, oh wait, she wants to be raped. I think she wants to be raped. Although female sexuality is seen as a source of fitna, Sharia assigns men regarded as more rational and better able to exercise self-restraint, the Allah-given responsibility to oversee and regulate women. From this perspective, a woman who fails to comply with Sharia norms, for instance by appearing unveiled and unaccompanied in public, represents a danger to social order. In such a framework, responsibility for any sexual assault she suffers is often attributed to her own behavior, especially when combined with notions of the inherent impurity of non-Muslims.
Yeah, little side note. I remembered when Ayaan Hirsi Ali started, because that was in her book Infidel, where she talked about the female genital mutilation she endured and so on. And so she came out with her book. And I remembered people were calling her a liar, saying, no, that didn't even happen to you. We contacted your family. None of that happened. Blah, blah, blah. It's not even common. I just looked it up. I asked, what percentage of women in Somalia are victims of female genital mutilation? Female genital mutilation is nearly universal in Somalia, with prevalence rates reaching 99% among women and girls aged 15 to 49. 99%.
Yep. I talked to plenty of Somali women who left Islam, who have, I think almost every single one of them, when I asked, said that they had to undergo the same procedure. Which is very, very messed up. We talk about this like it's a distant thing, right? When you encounter people from certain cultures like Somalia, especially if they lived there, they will tell you that they were subjected to this female genital mutilation, that they had parts or the entirety of their clitoris or other parts removed, which carries high risks, by the way. This outlook leads to non-Muslim women who appear uncovered and move freely without male supervision being labeled as sluts, who are eager to entice men. In this cultural context, a Muslim man who engages in sexual activity with such a woman bears no blame. The fault lies entirely with the woman. Islamic teachings concerning the perilous nature of female sexuality and the moral inferiority of non-Muslims can reinforce and legitimize this pattern of attributing responsibility to the victim. Next chapter is Jihad and Sex Slavery. Where are we? 127. There's Jihad and Sex Slavery. There's Dhimmitude. Dhimmitude. Islamic clan culture. I'm going to stop it here. We can make a whole live stream about how Islam treats non-Muslims and non-Muslim women just based on these 3 chapters together. Jihad and Sex Slavery, Dhimmitude, Islam's treatment of conquered non-Muslim peoples. This is very, very relevant, more relevant than people actually think. And Islamic clan culture.
No, it's super important. Islam's treatment of conquered peoples, right? Because we point out what Islam teaches about taking female captives and slave girls and things like that. And that it's all over the Muslim sources. And the response is, but yeah, you conquered them first. You conquered them first. Then you took their wives and daughters and stuff like that and did what you want with them and turned them into your sex slaves. And it's like, yeah, because people back then would have protected their wives and daughters. You had to fight them first if you wanted to rape their wives and daughters. You had to defeat them in battle to take their wives and daughters. Suddenly, Muslims get to a place where, you don't have to do anything. You just have to make people nervous about being called racist. In other words, they found another way of conquering you. They found another way of conquering you where they didn't have to do anything. They just had to make you scared of being called a racist, and then you get the same result. We take your little girls as our sex slaves.
Yeah. In the next chapter, I think the report goes into that, how the Islamophobia accusation played into justifying and prolonging all of this.
Well, it comes up over and over again in the stories of the girls.
Yeah.
When they say, "What? Well, why didn't you told your people, your teachers at your school, why didn't they intervene? They were worried about being called racist. You talked to a social worker, why didn't he intervene? He was worried about being called a racist." Over and over again. Police, everyone, no, we're scared of being called racist, so we're not going to help you not be gang raped for the rest of your life.
That's true. That's true. Beard. Okay, I already read this, and it is done. Bros, why does the Bible say women should dress modestly? Why does it say that? What's the relevance to it?
So that you won't be raped. No, that's just a general idea of dressing modestly.
Yeah. Fly for a bald guy says, sign me up for QRRAP. Where to buy that shirt? Which shirt?
Which shirt?
This here? I don't know, just look for a shirt with Jerusalem cross. Cheap stuff.
I bet I can make a cool Jerusalem cross.
Yeah. Also, Abe, I now respect David Wood for his quote of Office Space. Office Space. Dr. Nasser's magic box of rocks. Grift payment for Qurans. Love you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very, very much. Should get some more Qurans for that. Lee Wolf the Red. Apparently,
I've got a few.
Apparently, the Spanish Inquisition got started after Granada was conquered, and the Moors were pretending to be Christian but were practicing taqiyya and constantly tried to bring back Muslim rule. Nice. There were lots of problems, and it was a difficult time in history, I must say. All right.
That place is Grenada. I always wondered.
Granada.
I always wondered if grenades were made up. Were named after that place, like they invented it.
Granada.
Were grenades named after Grenada? Now, I would guess that it's actually has got something to do with pomegranates or something like that are kind of shaped like pomegranates. I don't know.
Granada. All right, David, anything else?
No, grenades were not named after the Caribbean country of Grenada. Both words simply share the same root word, which comes from the Spanish and French words for pomegranate fruit. Okay. All right. We solved that mystery, ladies and gentlemen. See, you always learn new stuff here.
Well, you also apparently searched for a country called Granada in the Caribbean, whereas you were supposed to look for Granada in Spain.
Well, it wouldn't matter. I just said Grenada.
All right. Pomegranate and Granada. All right, David, anything else?
Yeah, pomegranates suck, man.
Vindicator 75, do you guys support Israel over Palestine? Now, what in the world would make you think that I would ever support this thing called Palestine? I mean, unless I was somehow stupid enough to be influenced over the last few years by the dumb trends of people depicting Palestinians as victims in any situation, and thereby tricking me into supporting an Islamic society where I would be killed for my whole existence. Why would I be doing that? I shall never support this thing called Palestine. Never ever. The Islamic project of Palestine. Never ever.
Yeah, you guys ever want me to support Palestine, get rid of the freaking terrorists?
Yeah.
And have them not be in power and have sane people who actually want to live in peace. And I will support them.
Inshallah.
In a heartbeat.
Inshallah. Dr. Brown, Englishman here, thanks for covering the report. Thank you. I hope you do something and rile more people up and rise up and change your country. You have a beautiful, wonderful country, one of the best nations this world has ever seen, and it's being raped at the moment.
But by the way, isn't it interesting what we were reading earlier about the Sikhs? And it was saying that basically the Sikhs had to organize more to protect the girls from these groomers and stuff. And guess what? You don't hear a lot about this happening to the Sikhs anymore. The English Defense League was made for that. And they were blasted as a bunch of racists and Islamophobes and stuff. And it's like, why? Okay, police aren't protecting these girls. The government's not protecting the girls. The schools aren't protecting them. The care houses aren't protecting them. Social workers, no one's protecting them. Can a bunch of guys just get together and protect them? No. That means you're racist. And so they couldn't do it.
I agree completely with Kerrion here, who said, and stop using the Palestinian cause to force Islam down the throats of the West. Indeed, I don't want things forced down my throat, especially not Islamic things.
Yeah, just because Muhammad on the night of Al-Zut wanted things forced down doesn't mean the rest of us want that stuff.
This is a Christian channel, man. What's wrong with you?
Hey, I just read the sources, man. Not allowed to read.
All right. That said, I just made an agreement with James from Modern Day Debate that next month, I believe, I will be in Dallas to do a meet and greet with everyone who wants to come down there. I will say more about that. I'll probably publish and probably post something about it to meet and greet people.
Yeah, so you can walk up and you can, and AP can say, "Hi, I'm the Apostate Prophet. Welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day."
To have dinner and spend time with everyone who wants to come there, just for that occasion or for the debates. There are also plenty of good debates happening between lots of good people and bad people.
Bunch of nerds.
Would be a very, very nice event to be at. So I will share more about that later on, probably later today or tomorrow, inshallah. That's going to be at Modern Day Debate in Dallas, I think on the 25th and 26th of July, as far as I remember. I have to check again. Anonymous Australian says, watch out for desks in Dallas, AP. I'm going to ban you for this comment.
Desks are going to beat the crap out of you and make you fall through them.
All right. Anything else, David?
That would be a funny skit. You're just walking by a desk and then all of a sudden you hear a voice. Hey, AP, come here. Stand on me for a second. No, don't worry. I won't break. And then you're like, are you sure? Like, oh, I promise, man. I promise. We're good to go. Just stand on me just for a second. I'm like, oh, okay. You stand on it. Crash.
My foot is still all messed up. My foot is still all messed up from the incidents of me trying to fix things around the home, then getting my foot all discombobulated and deformed because of desks and screws. Still trying to get better about it. Inshallah soon. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget that there are rape gangs all around and abound, and it's time to do something about it. Rise up. Tell people to rise up. Vote for politicians. Tell them to do something about the country and start deporting millions without any excuses. That's what needs to be done.
And don't fall through desks.
Yes, and especially for Britain, which historically, until the rise of the United States of America, was the greatest nation this world has ever seen. Then they gave that title to the United States of America, of course. But maybe the people of England and of Great Britain can still do something about the fact that they are now the second greatest nation the world has ever seen and can save their country from being raped by Muslims. So do something about it. Anything else, David?
Yeah, just in general, be the opposite. If you're not sure what to do to make your nation awesome and great, just do the opposite of the worst nations, North Korea, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan.
For some reason, I was expecting you to add England to that, as you would do. But anyway. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And as always, God bless you all. And stay well. And see you all soon. Inshallah.
Stay away from Islam.
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 Stay away from Islam. Stay away from Islam.